Here, if you have not heard, yes, it seems like Trump has been vindicated in reference to RussiaGate. And I know some of you are probably like, why is this still being talked about after all these years? Because new developments have been released, and that is the Durham report. So if you have not heard about this, I think you need to hear it, because I hate to say it, but remember, it was independent media that tried to tell you that RussiaGate was not going anywhere, that it probably wasn't real. Aaron Mate reported on this extensively, but mainstream media pundits like Rachel Maddow and, of course, politicians like Adam Schiff continued to smear Trump. And you can have your criticisms for Trump, but they got it wrong when it came to RussiaGate. And even to the point where now, even CNN had to come and acknowledge the Durham report. And Jake Tapper, of all people, here we go.
The years-long investigation is over, and John Durham, the special counsel investigating whether there was any misconduct by the FBI in the Trump-Russia investigation, just released his findings. For years, as you may recall, Donald Trump and his supporters pinned their hopes on the investigation by the former U.S. Attorney for Connecticut. John Durham, later named special counsel by Attorney General Bill Barr. Trump and his allies arguing that Durham would exonerate him and his 2016 campaign and associates from any hint of improper behavior regarding the Russian government's attempts to interfere in the 2016 election.
This report says that it would exonerate Donald Trump. You know, they are really trying to hand the election to Donald Trump 2024. Everything that's coming forward. So all this does is point back to when Trump said, this isn't true, this is a witch hunt. This proves him right. Now to the point where not even, just conservatives have to admit it or are admitting it, but they believe that, I think most of them believed it anyway. But now you have the liberal networks have to admit it. They have no choice but to come with the truth. So it's just, again, so you have this, you have the RussiaGate incident, which proves that he was right when he said it was a witch hunt. And then now you have the case that is brought against him about his business dealings, which, again, I told you it would just make him look more like a martyr, and people would have like more sympathy than resentment. And he seems to be polling okay. Boy, I tell you, don't be so desperate to take someone down that you come up with anything. Like, especially if it doesn't even stick.
Durham is coming was the slogan and the meme tweeted by Republican lawmakers and the president's family, hinting that Durham would lead to bombshell indictments of those who investigated Trump. Now, the bombshell indictments did not happen. Durham did get one minor court victory, 2 court losses. But President Trump appeared so confident of what Durham would find, he openly pressured the special counsel to release his findings before the 2020 election. Regardless, the report is now here. It has dropped, and it might not have produced everything of what some Republicans hoped for. It is, regardless, devastating to the FBI, and to a degree, it does exonerate Donald Trump. Let's bring in CNN senior justice correspondent Evan Perez. Evan.
Even Jake Tapper had to admit it. Had to admit it.
What exactly did Durham find in this report?
Well, Jake, the bottom line finding from John Durham's 4-year investigation is that the FBI moved very quickly to investigate these allegations of connections, of collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia, and that they did so by ignoring a lot of evidence that would have led them to drop that altogether. He's saying that they may have had reason to open a preliminary investigation, an assessment. Perhaps these are very, very low-level investigations. But certainly what he finds is that there wasn't enough there to support the FBI's decision to open a full-blown investigation of this of the Trump-Russia ties back in 2016. I'll tell you one part of what he writes here. He says that it seems highly likely that at a minimum, confirmation bias played a significant role in the FBI's acceptance of extraordinarily serious allegations derived from uncorroborated information that had not been subjected to the typical exacting analysis that the FBI usually uses. He goes on to say that the FBI discounted or willfully ignored material information that did not support the narrative of a...
Oh, I'm sorry. You mean to tell me that the FBI didn't follow protocol? I'm shocked. Whoops.
A collusive relationship between Trump and Russia. There's a lot of very sharp criticism here of the former FBI leadership, James Comey, Andy McCabe, who were running the FBI and who oversaw a lot of these, a lot of the steps that the report goes into, Jake. But as you pointed out, bottom line, there are no additional charges. Nobody is bringing charges against Comey or anybody else that the former president Trump kept saying he expected them to. There was a former a former Clinton campaign outside lawyer who was brought up on charges. He was acquitted. Again, in here, there's a footnote that points out there's no chargeable crimes against people in the Clinton campaign. Again, something that the former president said he expected this investigation to find, Jake.
So
I was actually pretty surprised by that they didn't find anything in reference to Hillary Clinton's camp, because I felt like they were very much, supportive of this. But the evidence is what the evidence is. So apparently Durham didn't find anything in reference to that.
So it's very interesting. First of all, we should note that when President Biden took office, there were two special counsels, or one U.S. attorney and one special counsel, that he let continue doing their jobs. One was John Durham,
right,
doing this case, and the other one was the U.S. attorney in Delaware investigating Hunter. So that is why this was allowed to proceed. A couple quotes here from Durham's report. One, based on the review of Crossfire Hurricane, that's the investigation into Trump and Russia, and related intelligence activities, we conclude that the Justice Department and FBI failed to uphold their important mission of strict fidelity to the law.
Surprise. Between this and the Twitter files, the FBI is not looking too good right now. Oh, and Malcolm X's family coming forward about their involvement in killing Malcolm X. They're not looking too good right now. Not having a good couple of months.
Connection with certain events and activities described in the report. And he says about, quote, regarding certain personnel intimately involved in the matter, there was a, quote, predisposition to open an investigation into Trump. He is basically saying, he's not, these are not criminal allegations, but he's saying that this was unprofessional and failed to meet the standards of the Justice Department and the FBI.
What standards? What standards? Justice Department, the same Justice Department that, arrested a group of Black socialists recently? What standards? There are none. They can just come after anyone and say, oh, I think you're like a Putin puppet. Lock them up. Anyone. It reminds me of if you read books or you watch documentaries about the McCarthy era, sometimes I feel like we're getting back towards that way where anyone that they thought may have been a communist, like was smeared, or that was J. Edgar Hoover, by the way. He was on a real witch hunt. But that's what it kind of reminds me of. So he's like, oh, there's standards. And I don't think, I look at Jake Tapper and I'm like, you can't believe the things that you're saying. Like, this can't be really how you feel. Like, I wonder if sometimes Jake Tapper just wants to say, I can't believe they actually have me pretend like I believe this shit. Like, there's no way.
Jake, the stunning thing about this report is that we frankly know a lot of this. The Inspector General of the Justice Department did a 500-page report that came out in late 2019, and that one told us a lot of these findings that Durham is now confirming. Frankly, one of the reasons why Durham was brought on board was supposedly to go beyond what the Inspector General of the Justice Department found in their investigation. And one of the things they were supposed to do was to tell us a lot about what the intelligence community was doing. It turns out they didn't find very much there in the intelligence community, and certainly not to support the suspicions that they had that there was a cabal of people from the FBI and the intelligence community who were out to get Donald Trump. That appears to have fallen flat as part of this investigation. And so, look, there's a lot in here that should make the FBI have to come back and answer some of the more questions, including some of the changes that they say they've made to make sure something like this never happens again.
But will they be held accountable? And that's the question I think some of you may have as well. Is the FBI going to be held accountable? Were they held accountable in reference to the information that was revealed in the Twitter files? Are they going to be held accountable? I don't think they are. It's like, make sure nothing like this happens again. And if it does, so what? If there's no accountability, it can easily happen again.
But the bottom line from what we see here at the end of a 4-year investigation, really there doesn't tell us a hell of a lot more than what we knew a couple of years ago when the Inspector General took a look at many of these things and came away with 17 very big troubling findings that they said the FBI needed to fix. Jake.
Yeah, so another thing, so Rachel Cohen,
17.
Who is a spokeswoman, the communications director for Mark Warner, who is the chairman of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. She notes, and this is important context, that the Senate Intelligence Committee spent 3.5 years reviewing millions of documents and interviewing hundreds of witnesses. She writes this on Twitter, right, and concluded that the FBI had ample cause for concern in 2016. And she notes that the committee, the Senate Intelligence Committee at the time, was led by Republicans. She's referring to former North Carolina Senator Richard Burr. And again, both of these facts can be true at the same time. It is possible that the FBI had legitimate cause for concern, and is also possible that some individuals in the FBI got ahead over their skis and were not as professional as they should have been.
Right, exactly. And one of the things you come away from here in this report, and it was surprising to me,
not as professional as they should. When have they been professional about things? When has the FBI been professional about things? Were they professional when they killed Fred Hampton? What about Malcolm X? MLK? When have they been professional about the way they do business? You know, this is propaganda for your ass. Because this is CNN, this is Jake Tapper still trying to find a way to convince the American people that you should still trust the FBI. They just made a mistake. I don't see it as a mistake. I see it as deliberate. This isn't the first time they've screwed up. To
see him say it, because you remember in 2019, Durham came out with a very highly unusual statement in which he said he disagreed with a key finding of the Inspector General, which said that there was plenty of reason for the Justice Department, for the FBI to investigate the Trump campaign. He said he disagreed with that. In today's report, Durham says that he sees reason for the FBI to at least take a look at some of the initial tips that led to what became Crossfire Hurricane. He's saying that the FBI had reason to investigate, at least preliminarily. What he doesn't see is the reason for a full-blown investigation, according to this report. Jake, one of the things that stood out to me, if you remember, the former president kept saying that he was going to find evidence of deep state spying. Well, there is a part here that talks about a confidential human source, essentially a spy, who was tasked with going to a Clinton campaign fundraiser. Again, let me repeat that. A Clinton campaign fundraiser, because the FBI had gotten some information that somebody was saying that perhaps a foreign government might be expecting some favors from a future Clinton presidency. So there you have it. The FBI was spying on the Clinton campaign, according to John Durham's report.
Has he?
Well. And Jake Tapper doesn't comment with that at all. No comment to what he just said. Now, let's think about what he just told you, that the FBI actually had suspicion that there would be some type of arrangement there with the Clintons, with Hillary Clinton more so, and a foreign nation. Why would they have that suspicion? Why would they have that suspicion? And I questioned some of what they said about this report. Now, I haven't looked at the entire report. That's my bad. I'm a busy person over here. But who's to say that when Durham said in his report that he found, no, I guess, involvement of the Clinton administration or her camp, who's to say he wasn't told to leave that out? Who's to say that he may not have been pressured as well? We don't know. We don't know. Again, one of the things we want to do more of on this show is not just take the information that you get and just say, okay, right, wrong, yes, no. Sometimes there's a middle, and sometimes two things can be true at the same time. And I think we need to look at things that way, especially with this report from Durham. We need to also think about, how do we know he wasn't compromised in some way, shape, or form? How do we know that he wasn't targeted? How do we know people didn't say things to him about what he could put in that report and what he could not put in that report? We don't know. This is the thing. We have to start thinking about the things we really don't know. And just because it's not reported doesn't mean it didn't happen. Just something to think about.
FBI responded at all to the Durham report?
They have. Christopher Wray, the FBI director, put out a statement just a little while ago saying that a lot of the changes that the FBI has made will make sure that things like this don't happen again. And, the FBI wants to point out, Jake, that, a lot of the leadership, a lot of the people who were involved in decisions that are in for some very sharp criticism in this report, they're gone.
Right.
That doesn't matter. I'm sorry. I just have to tell you the truth here. It doesn't matter if part of the FBI leadership that had those troubled findings in the report that were involved, it doesn't matter if those people were removed. The system at its core is corrupt. The agency at its core is corrupt. You can't cut a couple of branches off the tree and expect the tree to be fine. You have to pull up the tree from the root. And removing a couple of people in leadership positions does not change the system. And I've seen this multiple times, whether it's FBI, whether it's CIA, or whether it's just any other freaking employer out there. People honestly sit back and think that all you got to do is replace the leaders and everything else will just fall into place. How's that worked out for the U.S. government? How many times do we have new elections and we have a different president? Has everything else fallen in place? No, it is not, because the system at its core is corrupt. You have to change that. Now, again, this is CNN pushing propaganda onto the people and having you believe that because they removed those leaders, you should put your trust and your faith back in the FBI because they're doing America's work. And I'm here to tell you that you shouldn't. I'm here to tell you that it's still corrupt. What, you think this is the only thing they've been caught with? No, this is just one incident that they were caught. This doesn't include all the other things that they've done that they were not caught for. And that's what we have to remember. Propaganda CNN.
The FBI.
Right. And the current FBI director was appointed, as we note, by President Trump. Not that has stopped him from criticizing Christopher Wray. Evan Perez, thank you so much. Let's bring in former.
It's really interesting the way that they want to give you that peace of mind at the end there. That's why they add that in. By the way, the leadership that was involved, they're gone now, just to give the American people some type of peace of mind. No, fuck your peace. I'm here to tell you, It has not changed. It has not changed, especially when you have people like Adam Schiff, who was a big part of RussiaGate. How can we forget? So he announced this today. Breaking news, a MAGA Republican member of Congress just filed a motion to expel me from the U.S. House of Representatives. I stood up to Donald Trump and held extreme MAGA forces accountable. Now they want payback. They'll go after anyone who defends the rule of law. Or maybe they're coming after you because of RussiaGate and because what was just released from the Durham report. Let's remember Adam Schiff and Rachel Maddow and even oh my God, what's that guy's name? Why can't I remember his name? Who's the guy on Majority Report? Sam. Oh my God, I really can't remember his name. Cedar. Okay, sorry. Woo. Okay, Adam Schiff, Rachel Maddow, and even Sam Cedar pushed RussiaGate. They all fell in. I don't even want to say they fell for it. They just regurgitate what they're told to do. They go on camera, read a script. That's it. That's it. And Adam Schiff was one of them. And even the Twitter files revealed that Adam Schiff was out there telling people, executives at Twitter, what to remove and who to remove. Now you're a politician. So I got the Twitter files against you. And you were definitely wrong about RussiaGate. Maybe you should be removed, Adam. And I'm not MAGA. And I'm not Republican. But you fucked up too many times. I'm sorry. Take you, Adam Schiff, George Santos, and Dianne Feinstein. All three of you can step down and go have a party somewhere. All three of you can go. But we have to remember how Rachel Maddow just really stuck her foot in this in reference to RussiaGate. Really just stuck her foot in it. Let's have a couple of laughs. Let's revisit some old times.
Russia, Vladimir Putin, Russia hates Russia, Putin, Russia, Moscow, Russia, pro-Russian, the Russians, Moscow, Russia, Putin, Russia against us, Russians, Russia against the U.S., the Russians, Russian government scheme. The Russians, Vladimir Putin, Putin and Russia, Moscow, Russia, the Russians, Putin, Russia, the Soviet Empire, the second of the 20th century's great evils, communism, communism, Russia, assault by Russia,
Putin despises the West in general and the United States in particular, the Soviet Empire. Russia. They're the adversary. They want to bring us down, the Soviet Union.
Russia.
Undermine the West, Soviet communists on the left.
Russia. That does it for us tonight. We will see you again tomorrow.
Smash that like button, guys. That helps me out with the algorithm. But it's pretty sick when you revisit it, right? Like, it's ridiculous. That's how much she talked about it. A mess. What a hot mess. But yes, this basically exonerates Donald Trump. And once again, it proves that he was correct that they were doing a witch hunt. And it's just one of those things. I don't even like Trump. Like, that's the thing. I don't even like Trump. But does that mean I have to make up lies about him because I dislike him? Like, they make Trump look better. They continue to make him look good by getting their facts wrong. And they're supposed to be journalists. Give me a break. Yikes. Let's go to some of the comments here. Ashura, will liberals accept it after years of RussiaGating? I don't know. Colorado People News. Fun fact, current Colorado Governor Jared Polis originally co-chaired the RussiaGate Clown Committee with Shifty Schiff. Oh boy, I didn't know that. Oh dear. Thank you for the super chat, Mary. MSMs suck at reporting truth until they have to. Yeah. Thanks for the super chat, ACAB. the DNC and Clintons fined for funding the Steele dossier that started it all. Bad cookies. Nobody blames you for blocking Sam Cedar from your mind, Sabby. That's so crazy. Like all of a sudden, I couldn't remember his last name. What's happening? And JB says, what a rush. Yeah, man. Oh, man. That was brutal. Brutal.